Support everything we do at MWP News by visiting ko-fi.com/MWP News. Every donation helps us stay independent. For breaking entertainment news, reviews, and more, check out MWPnews.com. If you love games, head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@MWPNewsGaming for reviews and gameplay. Links for all of this will be in the show notes, as well as links to the other podcasts. Thank you for your continued support. Good morning and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. It is what is today? I gotta have my keys. Today is Wednesday. It's been a little over a week since Marvel Zombies came out, and I finally watched it last night in its entirety, a little over 2 hours of it, a little more than that with the ads on Disney Plus, because I'm not paying for Disney Plus without ads on this deal. And we've talked a lot about the MCU on this show over the 10-year history we've been doing this. It's been one of our tentpoles. When an MCU movie comes out or a TV show comes out, we break down the episodes, we talk about what happened, we talk about what could happen. And I think you've heard me say it before. I've said it multiple times. I've said that phases 4 through 6, which was announced back in July 2019, phases 4 through 6 are not the multiverse saga, as they said. They are the studio interference saga. And the idea behind that is, it's like the amount of weird decisions that have gone into... I really shouldn't open that. It's raining over that side. The amount of weird decisions that kind of happened over the course of the last 5 years, 6 years. It's studio interference plus also holding pattern, where it's like, yes, Marvel has to show value in the Fox acquisition, Marvel has to show value in Disney Plus, so they both kind of get thrown into this corporate war to show value to the shareholders by doing other things that really is not entirely their responsibility to do as a studio. I mean, but they end up thrust in there, which is why we get certain things happening when they do. And look, we're using those things we paid billions of dollars for. You are welcome. Even if I think just using the 20th century tentpole is enough. But whatever. I mean, the point in all of this is there's been a lot of stuff that came out and then just kind of hasn't been acknowledged. It took 5 years almost for the giant celestial head sticking out of the ocean to be acknowledged in the MCU. After it was debuted in Eternals, it took... We still haven't had Shang-Chi return in live action since his movie. It's just, there's a lot that kind of has come out that I'm not entirely sure would have if phases 4 through 6 were kind of given the space to actually develop properly. Which is why I actually kind of enjoyed Marvel Zombies a little bit. Yes, we had a crossover with Thunderbolts / the New Avengers, which is kind of like this thing with hey, we have this team of all these characters we've introduced, isn't that great? That was kind of cool, but I think we haven't really had a true, MCU kind of, what's I'm looking for here, what's the phrase I'm looking for in this whole situation? We haven't had a true, this is a celebration of what's come recently. And in a way, this kind of was. In a way, this kind of was that. It feels like a continuation of what we've seen. There are things that happen that I'm like, oh, this feels like a continuation into Multiverse of Madness, but in this alternate universe, this feels like a continuation of what's it called? This feels like a continuation of Shang-Chi in an organic way. That said, I do not believe that Katie and Shang-Chi were out on the road for 5 years, and the two of them aren't fucking. I really don't believe that. I'm going to be completely honest with you. This feels like a continuation of Ironheart and Hawkeye and all of these things that are kind of like the Eternals, and all of these things that are kind of like cool, but like what happened here? It feels like the most solid promise of what if should have been. Where it is telling these alternate universe stories, where it's like, yeah, the events that aren't happening on Earth are still happening. Like, I'm thinking episode 3 when Zombie Thanos is dealt with, and it's like the fight with him. How they handle the death of Black Panther, how they handle, Thor and Rocket and Groot showing up to fight him. All these things feel kind of right. That said, I do have some issues. Number one, this should have been a movie. And I heard what the showrunner said, where it's like they wanted to do it as a movie, and they were going to make it theatrical, but they really wanted to use Spider-Man. And realistically, I don't necessarily think that Spider-Man is utilized in a way that he was absolutely necessary. Like, the idea that, like, the Titan fight happens in Wakanda is an interesting shift. But I don't know that you necessarily need Spider-Man there. I also don't recall specifically the episode of What If where that happened. And that's the thing, too, that we have to take into consideration, is that it's like, what if the Zombies episode that introduced this whole thing, like, is a what if story not just of, what's it called? Not just of Ant-Man and the Wasp, because that's where the zombie virus comes from. It's Janet comes back from the quantum realm with the zombie virus and starts infecting people. It's not just that. It's also kind of Infinity War, because it ends with with Thanos showing up zombified with the Infinity Gauntlet, or Thanos having shown up and being zombified with the completed Infinity Gauntlet minus the Mind Stone, which actually leads to a host of questions, because he does have the Time Stone, and it's like, I guess that, like, he got that after he became zombified. He fought Doctor Strange, but also they're like, oh, he's learning how to use the Infinity Gauntlet during the fight with Spider-Man and Black Panther and Scott Lang out of Futurama. Like, that all feels kind of weird to me. But whatever. The things I wasn't particularly fond of. I got really into the idea of this kind of road trip with Kate Bishop and Riri and Miss Marvel. And for that to very quickly end in that first episode, I was kind of disappointed. The same goes for, like, the introduction of Icarus fighting Captain Marvel, who's zombified. And the two of them just can't ever kill each other. And I'm like, but why? I don't believe Icarus can't kill Captain Marvel, and I also don't believe Captain Marvel couldn't just eviscerate Icarus. Like, the implication of that is, there are actually a few interesting implications of this episode, but like, of this show, but like, the shows have not always been in line with, like, the actual continuity. The idea that, like, she can't kill him, so, like, he flew into the sun, but, like, isn't she, like, more, like, as powerful as, like, her beams are, like, as powerful as the sun, so, like, how did he kill himself in Eternals? And the other thing is, like, okay, so the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity Stones fall into the Wakandan reactor and destroy the Infinity Stones, which creates this giant shockwave of energy, of like infinity energy that's gonna reset the universe. But like, so Banner needs to absorb it all. But that didn't happen when Thanos destroyed the stones in Endgame. Like, Thanos didn't, that didn't happen there, and it's just kind of like, all right, cool, like, I guess. What was the other thing that was kind of like, that's a weird thing, and also, like, the idea that, like, Banner can absorb it, like, that feels like a level of power that Banner couldn't have been able to absorb, considering he couldn't handle holding the 5 Infinity Stones, let alone, and just channeling them, let alone absorbing all of their energy. Like, it feels a little bit weird. Maybe a different character could have been used there. And the other thing is, too, it's like, Wanda in this role feels like an odd choice. I get why, with the Darkhold and her being the goddess of death and like, or the Queen of the Dead, I understand all of that. But, especially as we see her move, like in episode 4, and she's got the hair doing what it's doing as she's flying, that should have been Hela. I feel like Hela would have been better used there as the overarching bad guy of this. Zombified Hela as the goddess of the undead goddess of the dead is probably a little bit stronger. Like, at this point, when this was made, and while she was at, I think it was at the Hamptons International Film Festival, someone asked her a question about it, like, about what she thought about zombies. She's like, I forgot I did voiceover for that, it was so many years ago. But the idea that Hela is going to, but like the idea that she's there, that feels like a decision that came from a different era of the studio. I just feel like Hela would have been a better choice there. And the other thing I'm disappointed at is the lack of characters who weren't in the MCU at the time. Like, in What If, we get Storm, we get these other things that are like, oh, well, like, there was an Iron Fist at one point. Like, there's a lot of characters they could have played around with, but they just kind of don't. And I'm like, you have the entire universe of Marvel characters, why don't you use them all? I get that it's based in the MCU, but I don't know. And again, I don't think that the inclusion of Spider-Man the way they did warranted not having this be a theatrically released movie. I think this would have worked better as one solo experience all at once. You could probably cut about a half hour out of this pretty easily. But I think that probably would have been better for the overall experience had this been a movie instead of a 4-episode show. What else have I got with this? Visually, it's great, and I think that this is probably the strongest use of this art style that Marvel has done. But it's just, I don't see myself ever going back to it. It feels very hollow. And, like, that's the thing, too, is that it's like, I'm talking about characters that aren't used, like, no She-Hulk references, no Daredevil references, no, who was the other one that I was kind of like, oh, good, like, that's, that's, oh, good, oh, it's a shame that they're not there. Like, there's a lot of characters that I'm just kind of like, well, why didn't we do this? I was like, why was Icarus there for so short? What about the other Eternals? Like, it feels like a weird thing. Like, that's the thing, is that, like, the Eternals and their mission, like, based on how the mission is devised and explained to us in the MCU, they are there to keep humanity flourishing, and as humanity flourishes and as the population grows, eventually they'll get enough people that when it comes time for Tiamat to be born, he will be able to be born, and that's what they need to do. That doesn't exactly jive with a zombie apocalypse, and I would have liked to have seen the Eternals deal with that. But yeah, I mean, like, it's enjoyable enough. And then also, like, I get why he wouldn't be there, because WandaVision wouldn't have happened, so you wouldn't have had him, but, like, I don't believe that in this show, as she's been explained, Agatha would have been killed by the zombies or not had a vested interest in trying to secure the power of the Scarlet Witch away from, what's it called? This is the thing, is that it's like, the way I see Agatha is kind of an anti-hero. And we talked about this on 30-minute reviews when we did the rewatch of WandaVision, where it's like, in another timeline, this show is handled way better because Agatha is the hero. Not Agatha wants the power of the Scarlet Witch for herself. Agatha is the hero. She wants she sees what will come up. She's Maul in the finale of the Clone Wars. She knows what's coming. She wants to try and stop it, but ultimately she's powerless too. Like, that is where she should have been over the course of that show, but she wasn't. And all of that said, I think that the way that the show kind of operates over the course of its run, I'm a little bit confused as to why she wasn't there. Like, we get Zemo, we get U.S. Agent, we get, like, all these, like, Jimmy Woo is there, like, Scott Lang as a disembodied head is there. Like, we had to make this a TV show so we could use Spider-Man, so Spider-Man's there. But, like, this feels like something that Agatha should have been there for. Now, look, at the end of the day, would this have made a ton of money at the box office? I don't know. I think that's kind of the fundamental question that needs to be asked with this, where it's like, did they lose out by not theatrically releasing this because they wanted to use Spider-Man? And I'm of two minds of that. Number one, I think it gets too niche into the... And that's the thing too, is like, where's the TVA? Like, you mean to tell me that, like, there's no reference to the TVA or anything like that anywhere in this? It's just kind of like, there are a lot of really odd storytelling choices. And it's like, there was a better way to do a lot of what was done here. And unfortunately, they just kind of made bad decisions every step of the way. Oh, fuck me, I picked the wrong day. What an asshole. I'm thinking about something I ordered yesterday, and I was like, okay, well, I'll have it delivered on Thursday, because I got to a pickup location, because I got to go over there anyway. And I was like, son of a bitch, no, I don't have to go over there until next Thursday. But look, is this the worst thing that they've done on Disney Plus? No, I would say this is definitely, like, it's just kind of okay. With some cool visuals, but, like, the story gets repetitive at a certain point. Like, the idea that, like, every time they go somewhere, some major character has to die. I'm just like, okay, but at a certain point, you just become numb to it. And I think that's kind of not a great way to handle it. If I'm just like, alright, well, who's gonna die now? Okay, great. Well, there goes Red Guardian. Okay, moving on. And I think that, like, the vocal performances vary. I think that what's his name, who plays Red Guardian from Stranger Things, he has a great vocal performance in this show, but he's also kind of like, there are also people who are kind of like clearly phoning it in. It's fine. Like, I think that's the best way to define what this is. It's a perfect example of a 3-star show. It is fine. I think that if you are a fan of what they've done in the aftermath of Endgame, you will find more enjoyment in this than someone who was not a fan of what they've done after Endgame. But at the end of the day, the show is fine. It is serviceable. There are zombies, as the title, insists. If you're looking for something that's like horror themed for Halloween, this is it. If you're looking for something scary, this is not it. And just kind of, it's just kind of gory at times for the sake of being gory, and it's like, all right, whatever. It's like you have a TV MA rating approval, so might as well use it, I guess. I get what you're doing. I get what you're doing, but it doesn't always 100% work. But I think that's a great place to wrap up for today on this. Marvel Zombies is now streaming on Disney+. There are worse ways you could spend 2 hours. But yeah, our next episode tomorrow night, Thursday, we'll be doing Tron Ares, the new Jared Leto led Tron movie. And then we will be doing, after that, what's the one after that? Oh, Kiss of the Spider-Woman on Friday. And then Saturday we'll be doing Sentimental Value to wrap up our fall festival reviews. But we'll wrap up there for today. And until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.